All right, so the quick review, and this is Algebra 2 and solving quadratics by taking roots. So if you remember, there are three ways to solve quadratics. You can solve quadratics by factoring, and then instead of each factor equals 0, you can solve it by taking the square root of both sides, or you can solve it by the quadratic equation. Remember, in all cases, you're expecting two solutions. All right, so let's take a look at this one. We're going to add a positive 45 to both sides, and we end up with 8n squared equals 49. And then you got to move that 8, right? So we're going to divide both sides by 8. It's at this point that you're ready to take the square root of the left and the square root of the right. And because you're expecting two solutions, you remember the plus minus. Can't forget that, really important. Okay, so we end up with n on the left plus or minus, and remember, this is the square root of 49 over the square root of 8. Square root of 49, no sweat, that's a 7. Don't forget, an 8 is a 2 times 4, so a 2 times the square root of 2. Can we leave a radical in the denominator? Technically no, so we're going to rationalize the denominator. Multiply the bottom by a square root of 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I'll do the same thing to the top. So where am I at right now? N equals plus or minus 7 times the square root of 2 is the top. I already had a 2 out, and then a square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is another 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And you end up with plus or minus 7 times the square root of 2 over 4. So there are your two solutions, positive 7 times the square root of 2 over 4 and negative 7 times the square root of 2 over 4. Now remember, you can also have a form like this where the quantity is squared, or you can complete the square to put it into this form. All right, I have to isolate the squared term, so that's, oops, hate when I do that. All right, let me see if I can get back here, pause. All right, sorry about that. So again, I have to isolate this squared term right here. So let's move the 25 to the other side. This is going to be a 27. Let's divide both sides by 3, and now the right-hand side is going to be a 9. And the left-hand side is 5x minus 2 quantity squared. All right, we've got the squared term isolated, so we're now ready to take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus minus. All right, the left becomes 5x minus 2, and we get plus or minus 3. So this type of problem, remember, I want to do the plus one time. 5x minus 2 equals positive 3, and I want to do the minus the other time. 5x minus 2 equals negative 3. Solve each little equation. This one is x equals 1, and this is x equals negative 1/5, and there are two solutions. If perchance you come up with a radical here, and let's say this would have been a plus or minus the square root of 5, then you're still going to move the 2, you're going to move the 5, and you would have ended up with 2 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 5. All right, and that would be proper form of showing both answers. All right, I know I reviewed a lot there, but hopefully you understand and you can think it through. And so solving quadratics by taking roots.